Hi, it's Ileana at Awakening Cosmic Reality Show, and I have Chloe from Airlea with me today. Welcome, Chloe.
Hi, Ileana. I really enjoy our chats. Thanks for having me again for this series that we're doing about the soul. So just to introduce your viewers to me once again, if you haven't seen me in our previous videos, my name is Chloe. I'm from Airlea Healing. I do a lot of the same healing work that Ileana does. I'm a psychic, I'm an energy healer, and I'm also a visual artist. So thanks for having me again. And today we're doing a continuation of our series talking about topics based on the soul as our main topic. And today we're going to talk about soulmates, twin flames, and life partners. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. And we might also touch upon destiny and what we come into this world, pre-programmed destiny versus free will choice destiny if there's time.
Yeah, we were discussing a little bit before today how sometimes destiny and free will can affect our choices in terms of our partners. But I feel like that is such a big topic. We may end up doing a whole video on that as well, because that's a really interesting topic to think about.
Yes, exactly. So do we want to start with twin flames first? Because that seems to be something that people are really interested in, and it's written a lot in the spiritual communities about.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we should touch on that first. So a couple of years ago, I started getting really interested in the concept of twin flames because I felt that I was with my twin flame at the time. And I did a fair bit of research and learned quite a bit about what a twin flame is, what are the signs of meeting your twin flame, what's the experience like of having a twin flame, and how to be in a functional relationship with the twin flame. So I just wanted to share a little bit with the audience about what I learned, and also talk a little bit about how we may need to take a little bit of caution with this topic as well, because I think some of the media out there is causing people to become a bit obsessed with the concept of a twin flame, and just sort of help people to not make unhealthy choices around that as well. Because sometimes I think, because especially if you're a passionate spiritual person, if you're a healer or a psychic or an empath, you may be very drawn to these spiritual concepts such as twin flames. And if you're a romantic like I am, then you put those two together and it can become a very compelling topic, very interesting, but also I think we need to find a balance with it too. So maybe we'll start with perhaps some of the signs that this person is your twin flame. So some of the, and I don't necessarily want to say that I'm an expert on twin flames, because again, these are metaphysical concepts. These are very big concepts that probably hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people have talked about online. There are certain people who claim to be experts on twin flames and whatnot. All I can say is I've done a fair bit of research on it, and I do have some personal experience with it as well. So some of the signs that you may experience when you meet your twin flame: you may feel a really intense physical and magnetic attraction to them. So that's one of them. You may also feel a strange feeling as if you are compelled towards them. So you may feel a tug from your soul, from your spirit, that this is someone special. You may even have like what we call in psychic terms is claircognizance, a knowing that this person is your special person. And you may feel that way even upon the first meeting. So it may feel like a love at first sight thing. Another thing I've heard is that sometimes a twin flame can be someone that you don't expect. It could be someone much older or much younger than you, or it could be someone who's not your usual type, or it could be. But that's another thing that they talk about. what are some of the other things that you've heard? Have you heard anything else about what can kind of be seen as a twin flame, like twin flame signs, that kind of thing?
Yeah, just a very deep spiritual heart connection and having a lot of things in common with each other, like hobbies, work, even thinking. You finish each other's sentences upon first meeting, and you're very drawn to each other on a spiritual level, not just a physical level. Like everything is a match and vibrates. And that's a heart to heart, energy to energy. Some people are just so magnetically attracted that it's 100% twin flame connection. 100% means they're the other half of your soul. They're a part of your soul group connection. They're a little bit of a part of you, 50%. But that makes it 100% twin flame when it's a perfect twin flame match. But it's not always 100% twin flame. It could be 80%, it could be 20%. It doesn't have to be 100% always. I find that to be a little bit rare. And I've only found it in about 2 to 4 clients that I've worked with, and I've worked with hundreds of clients. So it's a rare connection. It's really heart to heart, energy to energy. You finish each other's sentences, you telepathically communicate with each other. You can anticipate what the other one is planning to do because you vibe on a very similar level. So this is kind of like the signs of 100% twin flames or even 80%. And there's percentages. People think it's always 100%, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way.
And another thing I've heard from the twin flame experts that are out there is that you share half of one soul. Now, again, it can vary because as spiritualists, we know that things can get quite complex when it comes to the soul. So what we've been taught is that a person can also experience what's called a walk-in, where they can have other souls coming in even during the same lifetime. This can happen if a person's very distressed and they need help, or their soul is very weak and they invite in another aspect of soul into their being. So even if you do, let's say, share a soul with your twin flame, they might have a walk-in soul that's connected to them that has nothing to do with your soul. And well, it's connected in a way indirectly to you because it's connected to your twin flame, but they may also even have entity attachments, which are not as very friendly soul connections, where they might have soul fragments or thought forms that connect to darker entity attachments. And this is why sometimes, one of the many reasons why sometimes twin flames can suffer a great deal of conflict with each other is because you may feel this soul connection because they're either part of your soul group. And again, if you look at Dolores Cannon's theories about souls, a group of people, even up to 8 or more people, can share a large oversoul, but that does not necessarily mean that you're the same person, right? So even if you share a soul with one person or a group of people, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're the same person. So remember that you have your own upbringing, you had your own parents, your own family, a certain part of the world that you grew up in, you have your astrology chart, you have your personality type, you have all of these different aspects to your personality, which means that you have different preferences than your twin flame. And also, another thing that's talked a lot about in the twin flame theory is this idea of runners and chasers. So the chaser is the person that's always pursuing the other one, and the runner is the so-called unawakened twin who's not ready for that level of commitment. But I also like to look at things from a little bit of a more scientific perspective as well. So the runner could be considered an avoidant attachment style, which we get from psychology, whereas the chaser could be considered an anxious, preoccupied attachment style. So it could be that a person thinks they're with their twin flame because there's a runner-chaser dynamic, but really it's that their attachment styles are not secure. So what we all want to strive for is a more secure attachment style where we love ourselves, we respect ourselves, we love the other person, but we're not anxiously preoccupied in terms of chasing them and trying to prove to them that we're lovable and prove to ourselves that we're lovable. But we're also not avoidant where we're pushing away any opportunity for love because of our fears of rejection. So I think that sometimes when we get into these spiritual theories like twin flames, we need to also look at things logistically. Like, for example, maybe we have this incredible connection with our twin flame, right? And we feel that soul connection, but perhaps the person is an addict, or perhaps they're abusive or narcissistic, or they have a very unstable personality type, or they have a psychological disorder or something like that. So this can happen. And so we have to really ask ourselves, even if we feel that soul connection, is it really worth it to obsess about this person and pursue this person in this lifetime? It could be that, yes, we have this intense draw to this person and we have important soul lessons that we need to learn from this person, but that might play out within a few months or a few years, and then that might be enough for this particular lifetime. It could be that in future lifetimes, we reconnect with the person and we're able to work things out. I think a big part of the problem is that people become obsessed with their twin flames and they become very codependent, especially because of these theories around sharing the soul. People tend to already feel somewhat empty, or that something is missing in their lives. And then they're told that this other person could be the other half of their soul. And then they think, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the missing puzzle piece to my happiness in life. So I need to, at all costs, pursue this person. But it doesn't mean that we should be stalking them on social media or going to their house or trying to, manifest getting back together with them. Maybe it's for the best. If for example, if there's twin flame separation, maybe it's for the best that we get back together with them if things didn't work out, or maybe not, right? And this is not a very popular view. I feel like there are so many spiritualists out there that are promoting this idea that if you're in separation with your twin flame, that you need to find a way to reconnect with them. But my personal experience was that when I separated from my twin flame, it really was actually for the best, because we actually need to, at this time, focus on our own personal journeys. And I'm sorry to anyone who's, downhearted about hearing that and they think that they absolutely need to be there with their twin flame. But the thing is, if you're with someone who's unhealthy, or you're unhealthy, or you don't have a deep enough level of self-love and self-confidence within yourself as a complete soul, as a soul, unto just yourself, then it could be that you need to work on yourself. So what I did is I worked on my self-love. I listened to self-love videos. I did a lot more meditating regularly in the morning and the evenings. I worked on my career, my financials, my home situation, and basically self-partnered. And so just because we have these incredible soul connections with others, whether they're a twin flame, a soulmate, or someone that's part of our soul family, it does not mean that it's safe or okay to obsess about them or think that there's something wrong with us or that there's something missing within us that we absolutely have to connect with them. Because again, as you mentioned earlier, Ileana, we can also send them healing from a distance. And we know this as energy healers because we send distance healing all the time. And something very simple you can do, which is very similar actually to what we discussed in an earlier video about communicating to someone else's soul or communicating to someone else's higher self. You simply close your eyes, visualize that you're with the person, and send them golden light of healing, of love, and you connect with the person and you help them from a distance. So it's very easy to do this just with a simple visualization. And it's also very effective as well. So sometimes we're not necessarily meant to be with a certain person in the physical. And that's okay, because we can send them distance healing, and we can also self-partner with ourselves and really work on ourselves. And that is totally okay. And it's a very good idea, because if you're thinking of relationships from a manifestation perspective, like attracts like, and we can only attract a partner that's at our particular level vibrationally. So for example, if we need a lot of healing, if we need a lot of self-love, we'll attract someone who triggers that within us, that triggers our self-esteem issues and our lack of self-love, so that we can heal all of that, right? So we want to be able to understand that, yes, we have these spiritual connections with others that are very powerful, that are very beautiful, but it does not necessarily mean that we're supposed to be with that person forever, whether it's a twin flame or a soulmate or a life partner.
Mm-hmm.
It could be that we're just meant to be with them for a short time, a few years, or in some rare cases, a lifetime. But I think, you know, Disney and a lot of societal and cultural programming has taught us with the concepts of marriage, and I'm not against marriage, but the concepts that we've been taught are that if we're not with a particular person forever, that it's a failed relationship, and we need to somehow pick up the pieces and salvage that relationship. And of course, we should work on our relationships, and we should try to make them work as much as we possibly can. But if it's not working, we need to understand that it's okay. And also that, like, and this is one of the key things about relationships overall. It doesn't matter whether it's twin flames, soulmates, or just someone that we've met where we're healing a past life issue or whatever, right? A key thing to remember is that, and again, you can take it or leave it, but this is the philosophy that I go by. We've been taught to think that relationships are meant to be romantic and full of wonderful sex and wonderful connection and like a perfect long-term relationship. Okay. Now, this is a big part of it. It might be even like 50% of what being in a romantic relationship is about. But what's the other half? The other half is really just understanding that being with someone on a close level, on a romantic level, is basically bringing up all of the things that we need to heal from our childhood, from our past lifetimes, from our previous lifetimes with that individual when we were a different person even. So there's many, many things that we need to work through and heal with these relationships. And so if the relationship is not perfect, that's okay as well, because we can learn so many different soul lessons from this person as well. But, and I have to put this proviso in, because I don't feel that this is mentioned enough by a lot of the spiritualists that preach about twin flames and soulmates. If the person is abusive, if the person that we're connected to is, toxic, verbally or physically abusive, or it's someone that is just making our life like a hell, then we have to, again, go into our survival mode, our gut feelings, and our logical mind a little bit more. It's not all about spiritual soul connection and hot sex. There's also, we need to balance things out and recognize, logistically, do I want to be with someone that I don't trust? Logistically, do I want to be with someone who cheats or who is an addict or things of that nature? Now, we can help them, of course, right? Especially a lot of our viewers are empathic and they have healing abilities and they know they can help their partners, but there's a fine line. And if you're trying to decide whether to be with someone or not, ask yourself, am I usually happy or am I usually tormented in some way? So if you're mostly enjoying your relationship with this person, like at least, what would you say, Ileana, like 60-70% enjoying it?
Oh, I would say 75 to 85%,
Yeah. Okay.
because you, on a soul level, beyond just the sex, you really energetically need to enjoy and like being with your partner, as well as jive together vibrationally. If you don't trust them, if, for example, they're lying to you and you can sense it, That's not an equal relationship where one gives and the other gives, one is taking and not sharing the truth. So it's not an equal 50-50 balance. So I think for me, I would need 75 to 85%. 50 or 65 is low. I would say it's on a bit of a low vibration for me. I want to see 75 at least to 85 or higher, because they're closer to the same level. And also free will choice is important. If you become too obsessed with a twin flame, a soulmate, and a life partner, and you pursue them and you're all about them 24/7, you sort of start to lose your own personality in the process, and your free will choice gets lost along the way, and you're all about them. They're the center of your world. And then a year or 2 or 5 from now, you look at it and you say, where did the time go? Where is me? Where did I go? It's all about them. So don't lose your personality perspective, because it's you matter too in a relationship, not just the other partner. It's equal. Them, you, them equally matter, and not getting lost along the way thinking twin flame is perfect, they're taking care of me, I'm loved, everything is great, I am always taken care of. Don't forget the I am, the you, the self-care, the self-love, because you as an individual come here with a purpose, like what we discussed. Sometimes it's pre-planned, sometimes it's not. There's soul missions. You come here to explore something for yourself as well, and you connect to people this way as well in soul groups. So it's about keeping your own perspective too, your life, exploring you and enjoying you. A good balanced relationship where it's 50-50 balance between the two people in the relationship, where you're being acknowledged, you're being loved, you're being taken care of, but you're also taking care of yourself. You're also fulfilling your life needs, your happiness, your exploration of personal things, of work, hobbies, whatever you like doing in life. Make sure you don't lose perspective of being grounded and balanced within yourself, not just taking care of somebody else just because you think they're your twin flame. This is another thing that they say, once you meet your twin flame, everything is perfect. It's not always perfect. There's variations on relationship styles and how twin flames interact together. Sometimes it could be very toxic. It's very passionate, and it's very, hot and sexy and beautiful. But sometimes they can argue. They can they can dance with each other in a very hot, passionate way that is very emotional and very energetic and very driven. So it's like tugging, energetic tugging. So, and sometimes it could look sexy and hot, but it's toxic in certain ways if it's tugging and pulling in the wrong way energetically. It may seem sexy and it may seem awesome. You're arguing, you're passionately together, you're doing it, but are you arguing about all the right things, or is there emotional, energetic disconnect where you're arguing about things you shouldn't need to argue? So knowing the difference between healthy and unhealthy energetic styles in relationships, especially between twin flames, is so important to know.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is why I think that people who are interested in relationship theory should not only study the spiritual aspects of relationship theory, such as soulmates and twin flames and so on, but they should also look at psychology as well. I'm a big fan of psychology, and you and I both are, and we work with psychology a lot with our clients, because psychology is a really important part to understand with human relationships and human dynamics. So, for example, attachment styles. Everybody out there, I highly recommend that you look up your attachment style. You can Google it online. Just type in attachment style quiz. So you could be anxious, preoccupied, you could be avoidant, you could be fearful avoidant, you could be disorganized, or you could be hopefully a secure attachment style, which is again what we're all looking for. But a lot of these different dynamics, which we rationalize as spiritual, could be actually something going on psychologically. And we develop these attachment styles at a very young age based on how our parents or our guardians treated us. And so, for example, if we didn't get a lot of love and nurturing, we may become very anxious. And this could be why we become obsessed with a twin flame, and not because they're our twin flame, but because we are anxiously trying to connect with another being. Or we could be avoidant because we felt rejected by our parents growing up. And so we avoid intimacy, we avoid connecting. And we might call this in spiritual theory a runner. But in reality, it's somebody who is really not able to connect intimately because of things they experienced in their early lives. So if we understand this psychologically, we can understand the logistics of how it works. And it may be that if we have very different attachment styles and that both parties are not secure enough in themselves, that the relationship is simply not working and not compatible. So all of that spiritual theory aside, compatibility is important, and our psychological state is important. And most importantly, in relationships, we want to work on our own self-love, our own self-confidence, and feel like a whole, valuable, loved person, regardless of who we're with. And then we can attract, whether we want to attract a twin flame or a soulmate or something else, we can attract the partner that vibrates with us. Because again, Ileana and I, we study manifestation theory. And again, if we are not in a vibrational state of loving ourselves and being good to ourselves and having great self-care, then we're going to attract someone that also has these issues, who's not stable emotionally or psychologically, or who's not worked on their self-care or their self-love. So self-love is the basis of all happy relationships, in my view. So that's what we all need to work on. And we do that through whatever self-care we have going on. And if we don't have enough self-care, we add some on. So doing things for ourselves that actively show love for ourselves, like doing some of the hobbies and activities that help us to align with happiness and joy and align with the vibrations of love. And I think I may have spoken about this before, but just being able to meditate on radiating the love from within and without, and giving the love and receiving and giving love equally, and understanding the give and take of that flow energetically really, really helps with manifesting a healthy partner. But if we're not healthy ourselves, then it may not be the right time for us to be in a romantic relationship, or it might, right? We don't have to be perfect to be in a romantic relationship. But as you were explaining earlier, we don't want to rely too heavily on our partner to heal us, or become too obsessed with healing our partner, because there's an imbalance there. So here's one of the key things as well, for those of you that are interested in twin flames. What I've learned is that if we try to get happiness too much from our partner, like let's say we see our partner every weekend, and that's our source of happiness, is yay, I get to see my partner, we get to hang out, we get to do our favorite things together. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if we're overly reliant on them providing a source of happiness to us, then we've got it wrong. Because what we need to be doing is connecting to our higher self, our soul, our divine source, and connecting to the source above. So it could be, it's different for different people. Some people call that energy God, goddess, the universe, the all that is. Whatever it is, we need to be connected to that as much as possible throughout our day. And that's part of the self-care, is understanding that as we connect to the higher source, we connect to our own personal source, to the divine, to our own personal source of self-love and self-partnering. And that's how we're able to be in a healthy, interdependent, I'm going to use a psychological term again, interdependent relationship, where, like, as you were saying, Ileana, I know who I am, they know who they are, the partner. I have my own hobbies and interests, they have their own interests. So we're not so codependent that everything we do is completely enmeshed and completely reliant on each other for joy and happiness. But we enjoy our time together, right? But we also understand that we need to keep a strong sense of independence and identity in order to remain happy. Because if we don't do that, all of a sudden our partner may say something to us, we might take it personally, and then our confidence just crumbles, right? And that's not healthy. We need to have a healthy level of self-love and confidence, so that even if maybe our partner criticizes us a little or provides some feedback about how we can improve, we don't let their opinion of us completely cause us to just collapse, because that, again, is not a secure person. And I'm not saying that, you know, verbal abuse is okay or whatever, but sometimes a person can say things like, hey, why don't you try this kind of a job? Or let's do more fitness together. If you're overly sensitive and you're not secure, you might take that as an attack, just as an example, right? So these are all things that we need to, I feel, build stronger within ourselves, so that regardless of whatever type of relationship we're in, it's a healthy one, right? On a psychological level, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, that it's healthy. And so I really want to emphasize that, because again, I feel that far too many people become obsessed with their partner or their potential partner. And I get it. I've been there. But it's coming from a place of lack, of loneliness, and of feeling that there's something missing. So what we need to do is actually become whole within ourselves, and then the partner comes along easily, because people are attracted to happy, self-loving people. They're not attracted to miserable, clingy people who don't feel that they have a whole soul, you know? So even if we do share a soul with someone, it's not like we're in misery if we're separated from them, because we have our own unique soul that's different to the other person. Even if we share a soul, we need to understand that this soul is complete. I am loved. I am complete. All is well, and carry on that way. Otherwise, we become crippled by our own perspectives that we need to rely on another person to save us, basically, from this reality, to escape from this reality into this dreamlike romance or something of that nature.
And there's also identity of gender sometimes, because it's not all black and white, male to female and female to male. There's varieties in who you love. It doesn't have to be the same gender. So the soul loves who the soul loves, twin flame, soulmate, or life partner. And if you have family members or friends who don't approve of your love choice, that's not on you. Your life decision is your own, who you choose to love, no matter what the gender is. Sometimes there's no gender at all. There's androgynous, there's non-binary, there's all kinds of different varieties from what I've seen and experienced as well. So you love who you love. And if somebody's judging you for who you love, that's not on you, that energy of that judgment. So don't take it onto yourself and say, oh, I have to conform to society, what my friends, what my parents want, what my siblings want for me, because they're the ones judging you for your relationship. You're making a life choice for who you love and want to be with, and nobody can interfere with that life choice. Mm-hmm. If you're in a loving, healthy relationship, doesn't matter gender or whatever, you're in that relationship because you're happy, and nobody can interfere with that. Nobody can tell you what they think you should do in your relationship or who you should be with. Mm-hmm. If it's a good, solid, healthy, loving relationship, you're allowed to be with whoever you want to be with, regardless of gender, non-gender, personality. If you love that person and they love you back and it's a great relationship, that's all that matters in that relationship, not the other people who are, the committee telling you what you should do. Mm-hmm. They have their own lives. They should not be interfering with yours.
Mm-hmm. And there can be interfering people, there can be third parties. And again, we may not always have support from our friends and family with the partner that we choose. And this is really a test of our strength in terms of, and the test of our relationship to discover whether this is a relationship that's going to work or not. And I think it's great that you said that, because I'm sure someone out there listening really needed to hear that. And it also reminded me of what we were talking about earlier in terms of percentages of how much we need to be enjoying a relationship, because there can be so much variety with relationships as well. And again, for you and me, probably we need to be enjoying the relationship 80% of the time, but we've also been through plenty of relationships where there were more struggles perhaps than there was enjoyment. And so I think sometimes when a soul has evolved to a certain point, we let go of the desire to be with others who are not loving us, who are not giving us everything that we feel we need and deserve, and we go for a higher level. Having said that, for those of you that are in relationships that have more struggle, and you may be only feeling 50-60% enjoyment, sometimes it's still important relationship to go through anyway, because I can tell you from one of my experiences, at least, there was more struggle, and that was a past life relationship situation. So in some situations we may feel that we're drawn to a twin flame because a lot of the signs are the same. There's this magnetic attraction, there's an energetic and soul attraction, but it could be that we had a past lifetime with this person. It's not necessarily a twin flame, but it's someone that we have unresolved business with. There could be a soul contract that was incomplete, or that was started in a previous lifetime, whereby, for example, in my case, I hurt that person in the past lifetime, they felt betrayed. So in this lifetime, they hurt me, I felt betrayed. So I was able to empathize with them and understand things from a different perspective. And sometimes that's the main goal of the relationship, is that our soul predetermined before we incarnated that we were going to meet certain people, and we were going to learn very important soul lessons to be able to understand different things from different human perspectives. And sometimes those relationships can have more struggle. They can even have abuse. But I just want to caution you, even though that relationship is valuable from a soul perspective, from a learning perspective, it's not something that you want to stick with long term, right? Because again, just because you're with someone and there's intense feelings and attraction and things like that, but there's abuse, you want to be able to, again, look at things a little bit logistically. Okay, I have something important that I need to learn from it. Ask yourself, am I learning that? What have I gained from this? Have I become stronger? And maybe this is an opportunity for me to learn to have stronger boundaries, right? To learn that maybe in our, maybe in childhood we were abused, or maybe we were even abused by this person in a previous lifetime. So maybe this is an opportunity for us to stand up to that person and to move away from that relationship. So again, just to clarify, we may feel a very strong attraction, but it is quite likely because in the situation where there's a lot of struggle and unpleasantness, let's just say, it could be that there's an important lesson for us to learn, and that's the main reason why we have that attraction. So this is where I feel like it gets very confusing, because a lot of people say to me, but Chloe, I have this intense attraction to this person, and I feel that they're the one. And I explain to them, yes, they are the one for you right now, right? Because you're learning something important, but that doesn't mean that you need to stick with them forever. And just because you still feel this attraction does not mean that this is the person for you, right? It just means that you have something important that you need to understand about yourself, understand about them, understand about the dynamic. So people that are in this situation right now, whether it's a past life twin flame or soulmate, and you've got a lot of struggle, more than half, struggle or somewhere around there, start journaling about it and write down what you're learning from the situation, and talk to a counselor about it, because again, learning about what is going on with us psychologically, what's going on with the partner psychologically, can help us to break down and analyze and figure out if perhaps we were drawn to this person for an important reason, but it's not because it's the one for us. It's because it's the one for us right now. It's the one for us who's teaching us a valuable lesson. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And one of my relationships was, I wasn't physically attracted to the person. I was attracted to the mind of the person, to the person because they were musical. They were great at creating websites and stuff. So it wasn't even if, like, I liked them because they were just incredibly smart and interesting. And yeah, we had some sexual relationships. I had a few sexual experiences with this person, but I didn't find them sexually interesting. So I'm still friends with this person because I like the person. They're just a nice, interesting person. Sexually, they didn't do anything for me, and that's fine. This is how I realized I need a life partner connection that is mentally very interesting, pleasing, emotionally, psychologically, and sexually as well. Because my sex life just needs to be interesting, and it needs to have that energy vibration flow where you're happy with the person that you're interacting with on that physical level. There needs to be happiness and satisfaction. If there's not, then there's something missing from that. And you should have a look at that. What are you missing? And what would you like to be whole in a whole relationship? Not just spiritually, mentally, but also physically. Because 50% is part physical and 50% is mental, spiritual. And you want that whole 100% quotient where nothing is lacking in your experiences. Because if there's something lacking physically or spiritually, it creates unbalance and unhappiness in some part of your soul. And then you're starting to ask yourself questions for why is this happening? Why am I with this particular person? What are they supposed to teach with me? But maybe I'm not supposed to be with them forever. And this person astrologically is also a Capricorn like me. So we're a lot alike. And in the beginning, that might sound interesting and exciting, but then it's too much the same. You want some variety. You don't want the person to be exactly the same like you, because that can be an issue in and of itself. If they're too similar to you, they're actually, you don't have that creative variety within the relationship. If they're an exact mirror copy of you, eventually that might become boring because you're seeing a reflection of self and you're losing yourself if they're too much similar to you and there's no variation and variety.
Yeah, it's really interesting because what I've found is that it really helps to have similar life philosophies. It helps to have similar life goals, and it helps to have some similar hobbies so that you have fun things that you can do together. But as you say, if the personality is too similar, it can become even competitive in the energies, or it can become where you're not learning from each other enough. So definitely there needs to be a nice balance of similarities and differences. But again, I think sometimes despite, attraction, whether it's physical or spiritual, we need to be able to see eye to eye emotionally and intellectually as well. And I feel like people put much too much emphasis on the sexual and spiritual connection because it's so intense, but they don't necessarily put enough emphasis on having a stable emotional and mental intellectual connection, because these are really key for having healthy communication and for the relationship functioning. Another key piece of wisdom that I learned over the years is that love is unconditional. However, relationships are conditional. So when we're experiencing a twin flame or soulmate relationship where we're very powerfully connected to the person, it teaches us about unconditional love because we learn to become more compassionate. to the other. And we learn to connect with the divine unconditional love that's all around us, which is a very important part of human ascension. I feel, in terms of our spiritual and emotional ascension, we need to at some point recognize that we are all unconditionally lovable, and to connect with the powerful vibration of love is extremely healing. And to unconditionally love others regardless of their flaws is a very powerful thing indeed. However, when I was younger, I used to think that if I unconditionally loved my partner, that even if we were from totally different viewpoints, different cultures, different ideas about everything, and we fought all the time, that it was still okay because we love each other. Now I realize, you know what, if you're fighting all the time because you're not compatible, you don't have this same, basic views. And again, it's fine to debate about little things, like fun things. But if you're debating about whether or not you want to have kids together, whether or not you are racist or not, believe it or not, this is something that people can argue about. Whether, like, gender roles, what a wife should be doing, cooking, cleaning, blah, 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 where the husband is doing the breadwinner thing. I'm not against those things, but if you are a woman and you don't want to, live in those antiquated patriarchal roles and whatnot, then maybe that partner who is coming from a more patriarchal perspective and is expecting you to do everything for him, maybe that's not for you. And it can work the other way too, where maybe the roles are just so confusing for the male. And again, it could vary with the genders because it's not really gender specific. It's just divine masculine and feminine energy, and different people have different balances of each. But it could be that it's just not a fulfilling relationship because you just don't see eye to eye on the most basic things. And that's really important to pay attention to, and not get into this mode of spiritual bypassing where you're only thinking about the relationship from, oh, it's my soulmate, it's my twin flame, it's meant to be. And maybe it is, right? But maybe it's not, and that's okay too.
Yeah, and when I'm in a relationship with somebody, I don't want to be cleaning or cooking all the time. I want equal opportunity. So it's good if the male aspect knows how to cook and knows how to wash the dishes and knows how to, not worry so much about masculine and feminine all the time, but really know how to share equally together. Those are not defined roles which you have to do. You can help each other, cooking, cleaning. It doesn't have to be a chore. It could be fun. One person can be washing the dishes. The other one can be putting away the cutlery and wiping the dishes as you pass it along in the kitchen together. You do it lovingly together, co-sharing the responsibilities. It's not where one person is just sitting on the couch and the other one is washing dishes. Doesn't matter whether female or male. Mm-hmm. It's about equal opportunity and responsibility in the relationship, where one is not just giving and taking, where they're both giving equally or taking equally and sharing in their roles and responsibilities. Mm-hmm. I find that's more equalized relationship style, where you both share in the responsibilities of your chores, of your fun, of your whatever you're planning together. You both participate in whatever you're doing together. You equally participate, so it doesn't feel like one is doing more and one is doing less. You're equally doing what you're wanting to do together. Chores can be fun. Cleaning can be fun. Cleaning is spiritual energy cleansing. Mm-hmm. Where you don't have dust layers, where you don't have dirty dishes. Mm-hmm. Washing dishes, for me, I don't use a dishwasher. I hand clean everything that I have in my house. I don't need a dishwasher. For me, I like washing the dishes, wiping, cleaning.
Well, and finding out, what you enjoy doing versus what the other doesn't enjoy doing. You can negotiate. So I'm all about negotiating, and then, like you say, having a cooperative environment where everybody both partners pitch in and help each other out and support each other with everything that they're doing. So again, focusing more on, is it a healthy relationship versus if it's a soulmate or twin flame relationship, I think is more important. Having said that, I'm sure people want to understand what the difference between a soulmate and twin flame relationship is. So here's my opinion. I don't know if it's true or not, but from what I've read, from what I've heard, from what I've personally experienced, for me, the twin flame relationship was more challenging. It had a lot of great aspects to it as well, but it definitely had a lot of challenges where I was triggered and the other person was triggered tremendously in the relationship because we were bringing up things for our healing. And my experience with a past life relationship was similar and even more triggering in that we were dredging up things that needed to be healed. In my current relationship, which I feel is more of a soulmate relationship, it's a lot more peaceful. It's a lot calmer. There's a lot of joy and passion there, but there's also an understanding. There is simplicity. There's a great deal of common ground in terms of our overall philosophies and where we are at in our lives and things like that. So it's much, much easier. Having said that, I know, Ileana, you've seen twin flame relationships that are very peaceful, very harmonious. For some reason, what I experienced was a little bit different. And what I've read a lot online is a lot of situations where it's more extreme with the twin flame aspect, where either people are really, really struggling, running, chasing, triggering, all this kind of emotional stuff coming up. And then some people seem to be very blissful and happy and harmonious in their relationship. So from my personal experience, the soulmate relationship is more like a person that feels very familiar, but there's an understanding. Similar to like you and I, Ileana, we have a soulmate relationship as platonic friends. There's an understanding. There's a lot of ease. There's not much conflict at all, right? So to me, a soulmate relationship, there's definitely some healing that comes up, but it's not like triggering all the time. It's not like triggering every other week or every few months. There's just a lot of peace and ease. And I feel that soulmates come from the same soul family. So we've experienced lifetimes with this person before, and there's been harmony and things have been working out generally. So it's just easier. What about your perspective on the differences between soulmate and twin flames? How would you define the two?
Well, soulmate is that super, super heart connection. Like you're just vibing off each other. That's soulmate. Twin flame is like you're on fire. You are lit up. You are excited. You want to see the person every day, every morning, every night. It's like impression at first love, love at first sight. It's more sizzly. It's more passionate. It's more sparkly. But with a twin flame, that's a twin flame. Soulmate is more grounded, more even, more friendship connection, not just sexually. And sometimes they're not born at the same time on the same planet. For example, I have not met my soulmate or my twin flame on this planet, and I just energetically know they're in other places. They're not incarnated on Earth. And I have several soulmates that I'm connected to. Like I know where they are psychically, and I've telepathically connected with them, and I've experienced love with them again. Honestly, I have 5 soulmates. So, but I've never experienced a twin flame in this lifetime. I know what they are because I've seen them in other folks, just never experienced it to the point where, yes, I know that one is my twin flame, that one is my soul partner, where I've been able to go like everybody I've met on Earth, like, oh yeah, it's them. Haven't met that person on this planet. So I know they're not incarnated at this time. Because it's not energetically vibing the way it's supposed to. I've met people, I've had relationships, but they've never lasted for 3 or 7 or 10 years. It's not that anything is wrong with me or these people. They're fantastic. It's just, I know they're not the one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not vibing with them on that deeper soul level. So this is how I know the differences.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see the energy in twin flames and soulmates and life partners. Sometimes if your twin flame or your soul mate is not incarnated in this life, you come together with a life partner who you're mutually attracted to. You have commonalities, you have similar goals, life experiences. It's okay to be with a life partner who you meet on earth that's not your twin flame or your soulmate.
Mm-hmm.
They're your best friend. They like you, they support you, they respect you. That's a good life partner. You can have kids with them, you can build a life. It's just, you like them for them. The energy is good, and it doesn't have to be super vibe, super this. You can be with a life partner and be good with it.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
you both like each other and you can both be together. So, and build a life. So those are sort of the differences between those three. I haven't even found my life partner on this planet, to be honest. And I'm good with me. I'm perfectly happy the way I am. I don't need to be constantly searching for a life partner, soulmate, or twin flame. If they come upon me and I meet them and I gaze at them and I see that connection, yeah, I'll go for it. But if it's not happening, I'm okay with that too, because I'm a confident person. I value and love myself and respect myself. And I'm not willing to settle for anything less to what I vibrate with in a love connection with somebody in a personal relationship. Same applies for friends too. I feel a soul sister connection with you. I share a lot of personal things with you that I would never share with anybody else, other friends of mine, because there's different degrees of soul family connection. You're my soul sister. You and I can go to each other with anything and comfortably discuss in private. And there's no judgment. We don't put labels on each other. We never put expectations of this or that. We're just freely open with each other to support each other however we're meant to. There's no limitations or boundaries with us because we're soul sisters. We've had many lifetimes together. We've been friends together. Maybe we've even been sisters together, like blood sisters, you know? We're soul sisters. That's the same. We're family.
And really, that's the most important thing as well, is that number one, we love ourselves. And number two, we remember and value the loved ones we have around each other. I think that we focus too much on the romantic partner. I mean, I know for me, being a romantic, because I'm a Pisces and I'm a very romantic person, I have focused a lot on romantic partners to a fault sometimes. But sometimes, you know, when we're single and when we're growing and learning, we need to remember, you know, we have loving friends and family and people around us that love us. And love is love. We don't necessarily need to go out and get love from a romantic partner or from a sexual situation, right? I mean, those things can be thrilling and everything like that. But at the end of the day, what we're really looking for on a fundamental level is just love, quite simply. And so if you're viewers that are watching, if you're single out there, please don't feel that if your relationships were shorter, that you were a failure or that your relationships failed. No, your relationships all contributed to your learning and to your understanding and your deeper wisdom as a person. And also, you have, I'm sure, at least one or two people out there, whether it's a friend or family, who loves you. Focus on the people that love you instead of the people that don't, okay? Sometimes people, and this is, again, very important to understand psychology, because human psychology is very interesting. We can trick ourselves into thinking that we want someone, that we are passionately in love and obsessed with someone who rejected us. And again, that's because we rejected ourselves on some level, and we need to heal that aspect. Or It could be that we're obsessed and in love with that person because we can't have them. Maybe they're married, maybe they're not interested in us, maybe they're not in love with us. So again, it all goes back to self-love. It could be that you think this person's the one for you, but it's really just your psychology, because we tend to desire what we can't have, right? It's like the dangling of the carrot. And sometimes we can be with someone and we have a wonderful experience with them, or a series of experiences, but they're not emotionally available, or they're not all about us the way we're about them. And that's okay too. I've had experiences like that where I was all about somebody and I thought and I felt the soul connection and everything, but they didn't feel it. And you know what? It's okay. And it's okay to totally let that go, because different people experience things differently. Some people are not as evolved as a soul, so they don't remember the lifetime that they had with you previously, so they don't feel the connection strongly like you do. And sometimes it's really that you think that there's a connection with someone, but in fact, it's not really the connection that is for you, because you really are obsessed with them because you can't have them, because of that reverse psychology thing that we do. So again, when we work on our self-love, when we self-partner, when we're okay with ourselves and we're confident with ourselves, and we develop our strengths within ourselves and in our lives, become strong and wise and capable, then we don't chase people who don't want us, because why would we do that to ourselves, right? But many of us do. And so that message might be for some of you out there who think that you're in love with somebody, but it's not returned. It's an unrequited love situation. That's a situation where you need to really regroup, focus on your own goals, because sometimes we become obsessed with helping someone else or trying to achieve someone else because we're procrastinating from working on ourselves, achieving our own goals, because it's much harder to face ourselves and love ourselves and do things for ourselves, focus on ourselves, than it is to just be in a fantasy world where we obsess about, if I'm with this person, then everything will be all right. No, it won't. I'll tell you right now, if you're with that person, everything will not be all right. Because if everything is not all right with you already, then that's what is important for you to work on right now. All of that.
Yeah, and it's also important to be accepted by the other person, like fully accepted for who you are. Let me tell you, I'm not normal. I've had weird off-world life experiences, off-world, like secret space program. I've talked to other beings, extraterrestrials, ghosts. It's part of who I am and the work that I do, and just spiritually who I am, my past lifetimes, my current soul connection. I used to hide that from potential life partners. I would never talk about that. Now I'm more open about who I really am. And if the person is not accepting that I've had these experiences, or can't at least acknowledge that that could be a possibility, I would have a hard time being with them, because they don't accept me for who I am. I am part of the interaction process with the paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm part of that, and the psychic, and also there's another word for paranormal, the supernatural. I'm part of all of those things, part of the UFO community. I'm part of the spiritual community, the healing community. I've had some weird experiences, and if I'm describing that to a person who I like and I want to be in a relationship with, and they're falling asleep or rolling their eyes or judging me or not accepting that, I cannot be with that person, because they don't understand on a deeper fundamental level that these things could potentially exist, or at least acknowledge the possibility of them. They might not have to agree with that, what I've had, or believe in it, but sort of the acceptance needs to be there. If it's not, they're not emotionally supporting you.
Yes, and you brought up something very important, which is really the screening process of meeting someone new. For those of you who are looking for somebody, and maybe you are a spiritual person, or maybe you have some very interesting hobbies like Ileana and I are a little different. So I kind of found a happy medium helped when I was dating, year and a half ago or so, and I was single, where I don't necessarily spill everything in the first date about how I love crystals and I love healing and I'm interested in psychology and psychic phenomena and metaphysical, So because I want to just kind of get to know the person on a human level, talk about, normal stuff like where have you traveled? What are your interests? Kind of observe the person. What I would suggest is kind of observe the person, get to know them, talk about things that are a little bit more mundane initially. And then if you feel a vibe, if you feel that they're open-minded, and then second date, you can start kind of gradually bringing up topics like, I don't know, paranormal or whatever you think that they might be open to initially, and just kind of work your way gradually. That's kind of what I find works, because sometimes it's not safe for us to just open up everything and share everything on the first or the second date. But I have found that I've been much more open with who I am in those situations, and also just in general, because again, it's part of the process of self-love. When we learn to love ourselves and accept ourselves, we're okay with our hobbies, we're okay with our interests, we're okay with the fact that maybe some people might not vibe with it. Because hey, look at it this way: if you meet somebody and you're into certain things and they're totally not into it, or they think it's totally weird, you don't want to be with that person long term, because it's going to be boring for you, for the more spiritual type of person, or the person who has the more offbeat hobbies. And ideally you want to be in a situation where, you can vibe with somebody on those things and debate on those things, right? Like myself and my partner were discussing things around destiny and determinism, and do we have free will? These kinds of things, very interesting topics. And so if you're that type of person, you're a deep person, you're deeply spiritual or philosophical or into science or whatever, you may want to be with someone that you can talk about those topics with. So why not be honest? And I know we're all a little bit fake on a first date, because we're trying to be in our best behavior and not freak the other person out. But at the same time, I think what you're saying, Ileana, is important, in that just be yourself, because you'll find somebody who really does like you and love you for you. I know it sounds trite and cliche, but it's true. You just have to not settle, and you have to really change your mindset. And again, this is around manifesting too. So really believing that there are, if for the single ladies out there, tell yourself every day, there are lots of sexy, gorgeous men or women, whichever you're into, who are emotionally available, spiritually evolved, and financially stable, psychologically stable, whatever it is that you're trying to attract. Write that down, and write it down in detail, what it is that you want, their looks, their whatever the things are that are most important, that they're honest, they're loyal, they're into long-term or monogamy or not, or whatever. But be specific about what you're looking for. Write it down and do a little positive mantra around the fact that there's an abundance of wonderful people out there for you. And this brings me back to the twin flame idea again, because I think people get obsessed with one individual because of this idea that there's only one twin flame out there. And I remember I asked you at one point, because I was really frustrated with the fact that it wasn't working out with this one person that I thought was my one twin flame. And that I was just saying to you at one point, you know what, this is really not working for me. It's not working. The person doesn't want to be with me anymore for various reasons, and it's not compatible for various reasons. And I said to you, do you think maybe, because another healer had mentioned to me, well, there could be more than one twin flame out there for you. And then I asked you, do you think that there's more than one? So what do you think now? Like, do you feel like there is more than one twin flame for somebody?
Yeah, there's more than one twin flame. There's more than one soulmate, because I have 5 alien soulmates or extraterrestrials, whatever you want to call them. I know they're out there because I've connected to them on that deep soul level, like the heart, the energy. Everything vibed. Everything was great. It's
Mhm.
too bad that they're not incarnated on this planet, but they exist. I know where they are. And I actually came to rescue one of them from this planet, from being stuck on this planet. Mission accomplished. I'm still here. They're somewhere else. And I know we'll meet up
Mhm.
possibly in this lifetime if ET disclosure happens, or in another lifetime. When you're connected to the soul of somebody else on that deep twin soul level, twin flame or soul level, you'll never lose the person. You'll know where they are energetically, whether in this life or the next, this planet or somewhere else. You're connected by the heart. You know where they are and who they are.
Mhm.
So I know for a fact there's more than one twin flame possibility, or soulmate, or even life partner, because I have 5 soulmates.
Mhm.
You've experienced deep soul connections with more than one person. I've
Mhm.
experienced, it's like, actually, when I was working with somebody, when I gazed into their eyes, I remembered a connection I didn't know about past lives
Mhm.
15 years ago. This is almost 15 years ago, or 10 years, but I felt a deep knowing about this person. I wanted to give them a sword and photograph them with a sword. I wanted them to flex their muscles because I knew them from Atlantis, and
Mhm.
they had crystal swords back then, energy. Um, and I was a photographer. In my first job, I was a photographer.
Mhm.
And I wanted to pose them with that sword. I wanted to take them to a forest. I wanted to pose them. I wanted them to hold the sword, and I did. And this guy he was like, this is interesting. You have swords. You have real swords. And he was like, fine, I'll lug it to the forest. Just put it in a bag so it's not so obvious what I'm carrying, that I'm packing something heat, that I'm packing a sword. I'm like, okay, here's the bag, here's my camera. Let's go. The sun is shining. You look golden. The sword is gorgeous. I'll photograph you with the sword. And I did. And he's like, this is the most strangest experience I've ever had. None of my dates have taken me on a date to the forest with a sword to get some photos. I'm like, well, I'm a photographer. I'm an interesting person. I'm not just a library person.
Yeah.
I'm also a photographer, and I worked in libraries as well. So I've had many weird jobs, interesting jobs, and I've attracted interesting people to me. This guy was from Atlantis. And
Mhm.
I know about this now because I've examined it in the Akashic records on a
Mhm.
deeper soul level. At the time, I was just attracted to a good looking guy who was intelligent, IT dude, very interesting, very charismatic, but a little emotionally repressed.
Mhm.
I'm a Capricorn, so I wouldn't say I'm emotionally repressed. I passionately express my emotion, but I'm not wearing my sleeve on my heart. Like, I'm not super emotionally expressive, but this guy was like emotionally repressed. So it
Mhm.
wouldn't have worked on a long-term scale for me, because I like to express some emotion, please, and share
Mhm.
feelings, and not have to lead, not be the leader all the time. I'm a Capricorn. I'm a leader, but I don't want to lead all the time in a relationship. I want the person to have their own free will choice to make decisions, and
Mhm.
not me having to make decisions for somebody else. And you and I experienced this in relationships.
Mhm.
But I knew this person was special.
Mhm.
He was a soulmate in Atlantis.
Right. Do you
Um,
feel like maybe photographing with a soul with a sword on some level you were trying to help him subconsciously remember the lifetime where he was more of a warrior type of a person?
I'm sure I was, but he wasn't understanding it at the time,
Mhm.
and neither was I, because I hadn't
Mhm.
taken this deeper journey into the soul and the heart. I wasn't a
Right.
psychic or a healer at that time. I was just trying things out that I knew looked and sounded familiar to me and that I wanted to try. So I
Mhm.
got swords, I got motorcycle, I got armor, tried all kinds of weird things that I wasn't sure about, that have off-world connections, that have past life connections on Earth with galactic CTs, human beings. And I felt very compelled to teach you about crystals and to teach you how to
Mhm.
make staffs and wands, because we were crystal healers together in past lifetimes, oracles, mermaids. I just wanted to teach you things like from the
Mhm.
get-go. I remember how passionately I'm like, Chloe, crystals, let's go, let's do this. Let's go buy some. And you're like, you're a little weird because you have too many crystals.
No, I didn't say that.
Well,
you are a little wacky, but it's one of the things I like about you.
well,
But yeah, no, and I really appreciate that. And if we're lucky enough to meet a soulmate, whether a friend soulmate or partner soulmate, who can help us to remember some of our hobbies from past lives, then that's wonderful, you know. And I do find that that's the case with the partners that I've had. We've all had an obsession with martial arts, with art, with music, you know, with the supernatural, the metaphysical, all of these things. So, you know, I think it really helps to meet someone who can really vibe with you about things that you're passionate about. You know, I like to play music with my partner, for example. You know, it's great to have fun, interesting activities, like do photo shoots together. It doesn't have to be always Netflix and chill. And this is the thing I realized too, is that quality time with a partner. And honestly, I think sometimes it would be better if people just let go of these labels of twin flame, soulmate, life partner, or whatever, and just really worked on their relationships to make their relationships happy and spicy. And it's really what you put into it, right? And it's a give and take, and doing fun things together, doing things that you both really enjoy, doing activities together, hiking in nature, playing music together, or whatever it is, or being nerds together, you know, whatever it is. It's like, it's got to be something to like stimulate you in your mind and your emotions and your interests, which again, our hobbies and interests have a lot to do with what we've been interested in past lives too, because oftentimes those things carry over. And we can learn a lot from our soulmates as well. They can help to reteach us things if we've forgotten them. And our teacher, actually, he told us both that we had done spiritual work, that we'd done manifestation work in past lifetimes. And that's why it was so easy for us to learn it again. I mean, when you and I were shown the tarot cards, we had a good understanding of them right away, just intuitively, without even having studied them. And that is a sign of a past life thing. And a lot of times we will have these kinds of hobbies and interests with our soulmates that are similar. And it helps us to remember who we truly are. And it helps us to feel whole again. It helps us to heal aspects within ourselves as well.
Yeah, to be honest, I was a little bit way too gung-ho about magic and crystals. I amassed quite a crystal collection of like 400, 300 crystals and magic things. I can say I was a little crazy about it and a little too overexcited. And I was like, Chloe, magic, crystals. And you're like, calm down, do things in moderation. And I'm like, I can't. I'm going for it. Because I was experiencing my past lives and I was acting out my past life stuff. It's so exciting, so phenomenal. It's like I couldn't stop myself. I was buying magic things, tarot cards, crystals. I was buying way too much of everything spiritual to try to balance my happiness and self-worth and the healing. I can understand that now because I'm very different. I'm very moderation based. If you take me to a crystal store, I'm not going to go, yes, all of it comes home with me. No, I'm going to select a few things that have a deep vibration with my soul, with my energy, that mean something to me on a healer level, on a spiritual level for my own healing work. That's what I would be doing with crystal selection. You and I would be looking at colors, frequency, energy, not just how pretty something is, because it's more than just pretty. It's the energy, how it's vibing with you. Physical, emotional, energetic, soul vibration, life partner, crystals, friends. It applies to more than just life partners. So you taught me moderation. You taught me to be grounded and balanced and emotionally happy with myself, just me. I don't need all these things to make me happy or satisfied. They're great healing tools. And they're part of my past lives, but they don't have to overwhelm me in this present lifetime. This is what you taught me on the soul level, being around you, being connected to you. And sometimes we joke that hubsies or hubs and this and that. We joke together. because we're soul family. We can joke on a deeper soul level.
Mhm.
I call you my hubs, or you call me your hubs. It's like it's just a very nice way of saying we're soul family.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. And it's very human to, you know, become obsessed with exciting people and love situations and hobbies and things like that. And it's challenging to find a balance in a relationship and in a life overall. We need to have that balance. And if we're very connected to the spirit world, we also need to connect with the earth, the physical world, and the nature and things like that too, to help to kind of keep us so balanced, so we're not just floating into the ethers, but we're also with 2 feet planted on the ground in the reality. And that's also why I brought up about how important it is to use your logic, use your gut, use your rational and understanding of things, and your psychological understanding of things, not you specifically, but just in general, the general you, when we're choosing a partner, to not get too sucked into the spiritual aspects, because again, we need to stay grounded on this reality and look at things really honestly and realistically, and look at if things are working or not.
and also for friends, like I do normal things with you. When I come over to your house, sometimes I'm like, Chloe, can we bake? Can we do food? And not, I'm a big foodie, but I'm not a great cook, I would say. I like baking. I like making cookies, cakes, and treats. And it's like, and you're like, oh my God, you're so disorganized in the kitchen. You're my assistant. And you help me out to balance me, and I'm fine as your assistant in the kitchen when I'm at your place, because I respect you and who you are. I've learned interesting things about you that make us vibrate pretty well and work together as a team. Like, we know our strengths, we know who does what well and how. I used to be grabby and like flowery, throw things and just whoosh, looks great. Yeah, it looks great, but it might not taste great.
Well, I
And you're,
love food, as you know. I'm
yeah,
a foodie and I'm obsessed with food. I look at recipes like every day. And it's not, sometimes it's not healthy to look at dessert recipes late at night, because it just doesn't make any sense. But you know, but I also can be, because I'm passionate about it, I can be very particular. Anyway, let's not get too off topic
but it
here.
tastes, but it's a soul connection between you and me, because I wouldn't just go to any old friend's house and ask them to bake with me. That's a personal, very personal thing to me that I only do with my best friends. I don't trust easily to just go into somebody's kitchen and open up and say, I love cakes and I love making this and that. Can we do this? I can do this with you because you're not going to hurt me in any way.
Mhm.
Even if I'm not perfect at it, you'll help me out and teach me how to do it. So
Well,
it
that's
tastes
part of,
good.
yeah, well, exactly. But that's also part of love relationships, whether it's friends or romantic relationships, is also trying to get interested in other people's hobbies. You know, I got really interested in video games because my partner's really into that, and D&D and stuff. And I didn't know really anything about it before, but I was really interested. So getting interested in and getting involved in your soulmates hobbies is a really wonderful thing too, because it helps you to connect with them. But I feel like we've talked quite a bit about soulmates, past lives, past life relationships, and twin flames. Is there anything else that we didn't discuss yet, or do you feel like that's enough for today?
Yeah, the preconception of pre-programmed destiny, planned destiny, and free will choice destiny. You
Right.
have you have the ability to be free will choice in anything that you want. Love partners, friends. Your choices don't have to be pre-programmed, predestined, preset. Sometimes you do that before you incarnate into this world, but you change course and you adjust those things in your life as you feel comfortable, as you're meant to. Always remember, free will choice exists for you to make the choices that you think are great for you, that will make you happy, that will give you love, stability, ground you, balance you. Free will choice is always yours. Nobody can take that away from you.
Yeah, it's very important because I think sometimes, again, when we become very involved with a twin flame or a soulmate, particularly, and we feel that they're the one and it's destined to be, we can get a little too caught up in this idea that we are helpless and that, you know, we have to go along with it. And it could be that before we incarnated into this life, we chose to be with this person, and so we feel the predestined aspect of connecting with this person. But again, it doesn't necessarily mean that we need to be with this person forever, or maybe it does. But it's important to remember that we do have free will. I personally believe that we have a combination of some predetermined aspects that we've come in, that our soul has come in to manifest for us, to create certain connections with our soul family, with certain soulmates, with certain individuals. But I also feel that we, as you say, we do have free will. And if you're with somebody that you have a strong connection with, but it's not working, it's good to not settle and to know that, as we were saying before, it's possible that there might be more than one twin flame out there for you. It's possible. There could be many soulmates out there for you. It's quite possible. And it's important to understand that these things around twin flames, soulmates, and partners are all theoretical. Okay. And as spiritualists and scientists, we can become very fanatical and think that everything is all fact, right? But these are all theories. And so if these theories aren't working for you, like for example, when I said to you one day, is there really only one twin flame for me out there? Because that's not really working for me. If a theory is not working for you, remember it's still just a theory. And you can learn a lot of valuable knowledge from theories, because theories are based on a collection of facts and knowledge and very interesting ideas that can be very helpful. But maybe there's something within that theory that's not working for you. And that's where you can use your free will to decide, you know what? I'm not totally happy with this, and I'm going to find someone better for me. But do work on your relationships, work on yourself, and don't be so quick to give up on a relationship if it's not perfect, but also understand that, you know, if you really love yourself and value your happiness, that you should be mostly happy with that person, most of the time, at least. Otherwise, there could be inner work that needs to be done, or there could be work that needs to be done on the relationship. But again, it takes two to tango. You mentioned the tango in our last video, right? It takes two. There's a give and take. There needs to be mutual reciprocity. There needs to be mutual levels of effort, mutual levels of love. And that's why sometimes it can take a few tries to find your partner. So understand that, and understand that everything you're experiencing romantically is valuable. Everything you're experiencing romantically is part of your soul's journey. It's part of your learning. It's part of your healing. So it's all good, whatever you're experiencing, and you don't need to label it. You can label it if it helps you, but if it doesn't help you, then just, you know, be open. Be open to the idea that there's wonderful people out there for you.
Yeah, and there's also love languages, soul programming, preconditioned destiny, predestiny.
Mm-hmm.
I find free will choice is important in all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And programming, you can always change. If you don't like what you've created in your soul program, like energetically, vibrationally, you can always change polarity. If something isn't working for you, feels negative, change it into a positive programming polarity. It's all energetics. It's all free will, whether it's energetic that you're creating into physical, or physical into energetic. We are not living in a solid matrix. Some of it is holographic, some of it is physical, a lot of it is energy that you create into physicality from higher dimensional perspectives. What you put in is what you get out. So manifestation is about programming, soul programming. So the quality of your programming is really up to you, and who you attract, what you attract to yourself around you. And know that it's not all predestined programming.
Mm-hmm. We do have a lot of say in this reality. And that has been shown in individuals that have made a major impact on history, right? There are individuals who have literally changed the course of history. So I would love, if you're interested, Ileana, in another video, not necessarily the next video, because we have some other ideas about that one, but in another video to talk a little bit about more the soul in relation to free will versus destiny. When is destiny at play? And when is free will at play? And this can get very interesting because it can also get into a debate about quantum physics. And are we living in a multiple world situation where there are parallel realities happening simultaneously? And then we look at the aspect of time. What is time and space? What's the relationship between time and space? So these things tie into relationships, but they also tie into some of the things that we discussed in our last video around soul purpose, soul mission, and all of those things too, because there's complexity to this life, let's just say. But how we've been trained is that we do have a say in what we want to manifest in this life. However, there are other people, there are other universal energies, and so there are other powers, let's just say. There are other aspects at play when we're manifesting. It's not just about our own free will. There's the free will of others, and there's also destiny, and there's also other things as well. So that's a big topic, but I think that would be a really fun one to just tease out with you in one of these conversations. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it would be a great continuation for our continuing series. And because we already have something planned for our next discussion about spirituality, about energy, and not taking material things with you. Wherever you choose to go in life or beyond life. So this is sort of what we're covering next, but we will return to destiny, manifestation, soul programming, and the matrix, the universe itself.
Yeah, so another conversation we were having, which we'd like to talk about in the next video, is sort of the challenge that we have today in regards to our perceptions of success, and how the media and cultural and societal programming has caused us to become obsessed with material things in life. And so as spiritualists, we value spirit above the material. However, we all succumb to materialism and consumerism because it's so incredibly pervasive in our modern society today. So it would be a very interesting topic, I think, to discuss next time.
Yeah, and spiritual success and happiness, how that looks like beyond the material world, because you could be happy in life without amassing material wealth. It is about soul happiness, about soul confidence, who you are as self. As the I am creative, powerful being that you are. I think that's going to be part of our discussion as well.
I'm very excited. Well, as usual, I've had lots of fun chatting with you, Ileana. I hope that our insights about romantic partners in all their wonderful varieties have been helpful to you. If you have any other questions, feel free to let us know. And of course, if you'd like to contact myself or Ileana, please look to the links below, and you can get in touch with me for online healing sessions or in person.
Yeah, and same for me online or long distance energy healing. I do Zoom one-on-one in-person sessions or remote healing as well. And we do other sessions as well. We do psychic readings, we do galactic soul readings, we do counseling as well, life coaching. That's part of what we do. And Chloe, where can folks find your website?
My website is airleareikimassage.com, which I'll put down below this video. But you can also text me as well. And that's really the quickest way to get in touch to book a session. Again, I can do it online over Zoom, remotely. I also do distance healing, psychic readings, as you mentioned, and energy healing, crystal healing, pretty much any type of healing, right? We both do.
Yes, yeah. And people can find me at Messages from a Star Traveler. And I also do, sometimes I do even email readings, answering questions. Yeah, I'll include your email, your website, and my own as well, and what we do. So thank you so much, Chloe. It's been a pleasure to have you back.
Thanks again, Ileana. Have a great day. Bye
You
for now.
too. Bye.